and we can't forget Davis. Big shout out to them for getting back through Texas. I've been free somebody shots at first, but he know I'm in scripture. Deep down.
What are you looking at? I'm eating some fucking, I got some fucking Pokemon. Hopefully, can you see it? Some Pokemon gummies, Pokemon fruit snacks. Now, have you ever had those, you guys remember those, like, Scooby-Doo? The Scooby-Doo fruit snacks? The motherfuckers used to smack, bro. I swear, like, I tried to eat a pack of those Scooby-Doo fruit snacks, like, you know, as an adult now. It don't taste the same. They changed something. Like, something in them changed. I don't know what it is. It tastes like too, I don't know. I remember, like, the texture feels different. It feels too fruit snack, if that makes sense. Probably not. I don't know. But, all right, look. So, I ain't gonna lie. I was low-key scared to start today's video, and I might low-key have to chop it into either a second video or I have to record the second part tomorrow. Because today, oh, yeah, I got the cam plugged up, you feel me? I thought we would have more of a, got some fucking cat hair on my nose. I thought we would have more of a one-to-one connection if you could see me. You know what I mean? Instead of just hearing me. Because that's a bit sus. It's a bit suspect. So, oh, wow. Look at that. What the hell? I don't know if you can see that. It's like a merged yellow and green fruit snack. I wonder if it'll taste like lemonade or something. Tastes pretty good. That my cat threw up. But today what we're going to be talking about is a topic that you must understand in order to even begin to trade. I'm going to try my best to simplify all of this. I'm going to try my best to simplify all of this. This video might have some editing in it because there's just so much to cover and I just don't want the video to get too long. So if there's like a lot of jump cuts or some memes or whatever because I got bored while editing, you're welcome, I guess. But what we're going to be talking about today, well, first of all, we finished Act 1, press start, so orientation together. We finished episode 1, which is just you taking that accountability to yourself. And we finished episode 2, which is setting the game up. No fluff. I just gave you guys all my settings. We're not going to deep dive into everything. I'm kind of like a person, I just like to learn as I go. I don't know if you're that kind of person, but like, I don't know about you, but I just want to learn how to trade. So that's what I'm here to teach in video game terminology. And we'll go from there. If you guys still have questions, just join the Discord. The link should be right below this video if I've created it. I should be working on it about right now. So if it's down there, just join up, ask me a question. You'll have to ask me in the chat. Don't DM me. I'll never DM you first. So, yeah. So, oh, I just realized what I said. We went over Act 1 together, and we went over Act 2 the last couple of videos, or I don't know how many videos it's going to be. We went over episode 3, which was the game characters of trading, who's in trading, what the role that you play, how they all kind of work together. Kept it real simple. Those things can be deep dived into more. However, I want to keep these videos as simple as possible without confusing you. The other thing we had went over was in the episode after that was, or maybe it'll be a part of the same video. I'm not too sure, but was building your character. So it was a psychology based video. I want to deep dive into that a bit more, but we've gotten to the point now where we need to start learning how to trade. So we're going to start learning today in Act 3 of the video game. Yes, Act 3. Welcome to Act 3. You've made it. If you've gotten this far, give yourself a pat on the back. Congratulations. You're actually taking this serious. And we've separated all the people who just want to get rich quick from the people who want to hopefully one day make this their career. So Act 3, we're going to be going over game rules and just the hard truths in trading. In other words, we're going to be learning what you're even looking at on the chart. What are all the candles? What do they mean? But instead of confusing you, like I feel like everybody else does, because everybody else has their take on this, I'm just going to tell you literally what it is, and I'm going to break it down in video game terminology for you so that you can just fucking start making some money or something. The first thing we'll be going over in order are price action itself. Most people wouldn't start with this. I'm going to start with this because it's something that confused me for so long. After we discuss what price action actually is, we'll deep dive into it a bit more, and we'll start talking about trends. What a trend is, what makes up a trend, who is the trend, what is the trend, when is the trend, why is the trend, where is the trend, how is the trend. You get the point. We're going to start talking about trends. The next thing we'll be talking about after that is liquidity. What is liquidity? What is the and all of these things, we're going to be attaching video game terminology and reference points to them. And once again, at the end of all of this, we're going to tie it all together, and it's all going to be on the screen for you to finally get the bigger picture and put it all together yourself. Like I was saying, though, we'll be talking about liquidity, what liquidity is. We'll be talking about support and resistance, supply and demand, orders, and volume profile. In my personal opinion, all of these things are the hard truths of trading. These are things that cannot be changed. These are things that you cannot be lied to about. This just is the market. This just is how it moves. This just is how it thinks. This just is the market. So if somebody says to you, oh, supply and demand doesn't work, yes, it does, because that is a hard truth in trading. It cannot be changed. If somebody says to you support and resistance doesn't work, oh, you're just drawing lines up on a screen and oh, you're trading when it bounces, don't listen to them. It is a hard truth in trading that cannot be changed. Take what works for you, apply it, get the data you need on it. You get the data by keeping track of your fights. Fucking cat jumped up on my desk. You get the data you need by keeping track of your fights, and you go from there. And once again, we're going to learn how to do all that together. What are you doing, bud? But we're going to learn how to do all of that together, and we're going to go over everything as a group. So, are you hungry? Oh, you already ate. What am I talking about? You smell like fucking, you smell good. Fish breath, boy. Stop trying to eat my fruit snacks. You're not getting them. You're not getting my fruit snacks. Bro, this cat is such a fucking badass, bro. I'll be sleeping at night, and bro just, oh my fucking god, bro. I'll be sleeping at night, and his ass is just meow, 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 like all night, bro. And then I'll get up, dead ass in the middle of the night. I'll get up dead ass in the middle of the night, butt naked in my underwear. I'll go make him some food because I think he's hungry. He'll just stare at it for 3 seconds and walk away. He's not even hungry. He be rage baiting, bro. He be rage baiting. But you know, it's my son. You feel me? It's my son. He's just bad as hell, for real. But damn, fucking cat fur everywhere. I need to get him cut. But like I was saying, let's jump into the first thing. We're going to discuss what actually is on the screen, aka price action. I'm gonna stop the recording real quick so I can check on the audio of the video. So I'll be completely honest. I can break this down in a simple way where you'll understand it, but like as far as how I want to execute, how I want to teach you this in my head, it's pretty difficult if I'm being honest. So I'm going to try to explain this in a way for you to understand correctly, hopefully the first time around. If you're still confused after this, just let me know down below and I'll circle back and then try to break it down in a better way. depending on what the comments are saying. So before we even look at a chart, there are a few things about this video game that we need to understand. So keep in mind, at this point, we've already pressed start. Okay, you're getting ready to play the game now. We're not attacking yet. We're not hitting the attack button or anything. We're just understanding we're understanding what's in front of us. So when we open this chart, we want to understand what it is exactly that we're looking at. Okay, so that's what I'm here to show you. Okay, so you have to understand that in this game, there are buyers and sellers, right? But to simplify it in gaming terms, there are heroes, okay? There are heroes and there are villains. We're going to pretend I didn't spell that wrong. But in this game, there are heroes and there are villains, okay? In trading terms, there are buyers and sellers, but let's stick with video game terminology for right now. There are heroes and there are villains in this game. At the start of every single day, you will have the opportunity, depending on what is happening in the market and what you are thinking, to decide which of these two teams that you want to participate on. Who do you think is going to win at a specific point in time? That is all you're doing every single day, okay? So, first we have to understand two things about these two people. Number one being, how do we see where they are? We have to understand, how do we even see where the heroes and the villains are on a chart so that we can decide who it is that we want to who it is that we want to participate with. In other words, how do we read oh my god, I can't spell today. How do we read a trend? In other words, we need to understand, how do we read a trend? And by the way, make sure you're taking notes, okay? That's the only way you're going to learn, is if you write down what it is that I'm showing you so that your brain can understand it. So how do we see where, let me better word this. How do we see where heroes and villains are, aka buyers and sellers? Okay. Oh my god, I'm struggling today. Hold on, guys. How do we see where heroes and villains are, aka buyers and sellers? Oh my. How do we see where heroes and villains, aka buyers and sellers, are? In other words, how do we read a trend, okay? In other words, that is what that means. You have to understand how to read a trend in order to know what it is you're even looking at, okay? The second thing we have to understand about these two people is exactly what it is that they do. All you need to know, without overcomplicating anything, is that heroes will move up. Heroes will move up. Oh my god, this freaking autocorrect shit is so annoying. Is that heroes will move up, and you have to understand that villains will move down. Heroes will move the story campaign up, and villains will move the story campaign down, just like in a video game, okay? Heroes move things up, villains bring things down. That's all you need to know about these two people. The third thing you need to understand about these two people is that they are all a part of a collective, bigger picture. The third thing you have to understand about these two people is that they are all a part of a collective, a bigger picture, okay? They are all a part of a collective, a bigger picture. I'm really struggling today. So we'll dive into this one a bit more and understand what I mean by that, because it goes into another character that we have to understand. So the next thing we're going to do is answer question number 1. How do we see where the heroes and villains even are? So aka, how do we read a trend? And we're going to see what it looks like when the heroes win and what it looks like when the villains win and what we can do with that information. So if we go over to a chart now and we look at this and we break it down, okay? So stick with me. So in this example, the heroes in this example are going to be the light gray candles, okay? So the heroes are the light gray candles and the villains are the black candles. If anything, just remember what the villains are. That's all you really need to do, because then you'll know who the heroes are, okay? Heroes, light gray candles, villains, black candles. In order to even begin reading the trend, you have to go back to what it is that I said before. Heroes move things up, villains move things down. So just looking at this, you can visually trace that with your eyes, right? This moved up. So who do you think won? Heroes. This moved down. So who do you think won? Villains. And you just keep doing that, right? Heroes won, villains won. Heroes won, villains won. Heroes won. Now, I'll be honest, this goes really, really in depth, but I don't want to confuse you. Let's keep it simple, all right? Now that you understand that and what that looks like, right? Visually, we can start discussing the individual candles. So one more time, anytime price is moving up, the heroes are winning. Anytime price is moving down, the villains are winning. And if you trace any chart that you pull up with your mouse like this, you will understand what is going on now. Heroes are winning, villains are winning. The next question you should be asking is, well, why are the heroes winning? Why are the villains winning? We'll get into that, okay, if you are the person that asked that question. So the next thing we need to discuss is what exactly each of these candlesticks mean. So I need you to understand this. Remember back when I told you that what is it that you're doing as an individual player? What is your objective as a player in this video game? Remember that example where you enter the boss room? So the first thing that you have to understand about this game, okay, is that the heroes and the villains are constantly fighting. Well, a question you should ask yourself is, well, how do I know who it is that won that fight? Well, the answer lies inside of the candles, right? So if we look at these candles, they are just a time collective of information. In other words, in video game terms, they just show who won between the heroes and the villains. It just shows who won the battle between heroes and villains at that specific point in time. Okay? That's all you need to understand. And depending on which chart you're on, for example, we are on the 15-minute chart. If we look at this candle here, for example, this is a hero candle. So since this hero candle closed going up, right, it shows that in this 15 minutes of time before this candle closed, it is the heroes who won over the villains in that amount of time, okay? Same with this next candle. This was another 15 minutes of time. The heroes and the villains fought again for exactly 15 minutes, and it was the heroes that came on top by the time that this one was getting ready to close and this next one was getting ready to open. And this kept happening over and over again, right? Until we got to a villain candle. We got to a villain candle where then in this 15 minutes of time, it closed down. We know it closed down because it's black. It is a black villain candle. The villains won in this 15 minutes of time. Now, something you'll see with this candle is you see how this candle doesn't look as confident as these other hero candles, right? Well, look what happened immediately afterwards. The heroes took control again. So it's safe to say that throughout these 15-minute periods of time, the heroes are overall winning. So if I were to look at this, would you want to be on the villain side or the hero side today? Probably the heroes. Okay? So a collective of candle movements upwards are the heroes winning. A collective movement of downward candles are villains winning. That is what drives the movement on the game board. All right? Now that you understand those two things, there's something we have to discuss. Something that used to happen to me a lot when I first started learning how to trade is I would get so lost in all of these candlesticks. I got so lost in all of the candlesticks, like I'm zooming in, I'm zooming out, like I'm over analyzing, I'm looking at all these candles, I'm like, oh, this is a move down and then this is a move up. Dude, I'm about to blow your fucking mind. Probably. Hopefully. So you have to understand something. Let's go back to our paint chart. Now that you know who the heroes and the villains are and what their movement looks like in the game, you have to understand something. And you have to learn to separate these people in your head. The overall flow of what you see on the chart is, so when we're seeing a trend like this, say there's a downtrend, and then there's an uptrend, right? And then there was a downtrend. And now we finally get to, let's say we finally get to today. So this is today. This is the current point in time. Let's say we're looking at a 15-minute chart, and this is the current point in time. Something that you have to understand and get in your head is this, okay? Is that the movements down show that villains were winning, and the movements up show that heroes were winning, right? Okay, you got that down? But you have to understand something. The overall flow of what you're seeing is its own player, right? Now hold on, let's take a step back. There is you, the player, then there are heroes versus villains. I gotta stop spelling villains. There are heroes versus villains. There is you, the player. Then there are heroes versus villains. Right? Heroes versus villains is just buyers versus sellers in trading terms. Heroes is price moving up. Villains is price moving down. You as the player, before you do anything for the day, you decide whose team you want to be on through a series of objectives that you're going to set yourself. We haven't got to that yet. But you must understand that there is a third player in all of this. Price itself is its own player. In fact, it is the strongest player. Now stick with me if you're confused. So we're going to go back to a chart now that we have this written down. So there's you, the player. Then there are heroes versus villains. And then the overall price movement itself is its own player. All right. So if we look at this, we understand that price moving up, in a series of up candles are the heroes winning. We understand that price moving down in a series of villain down candles are villains winning, right? And that keeps happening over and over and over again. And in those candles, in each of these specific candles, so just one singular candle, all it is showing you is how the battle went between heroes and villains in a specific amount of time. Does that make sense? So a singular candle, all it shows you, think of it like this. In a video game, say you're playing Call of Duty, right? It's Atlas versus whoever else it was at the time, IDF. It doesn't matter. Let's just say red versus blue. In Call of Duty, you're playing a game of Call of Duty. Once you get done playing that game, it's team deathmatch, right? Once you get done playing that game of team deathmatch, at the end of that Call of Duty game, there's a screen that pops up and it shows you who the top players were, first of all. But what it mainly shows you is who won, right? It shows you who won. So the amount of time it took you to play that team deathmatch game and for you to get to that screen of it showing you who won, that's what I want you to picture a singular candle as. So this one candle here was you playing that game of Call of Duty. You were playing a game of team deathmatch. The battle ended after 15 minutes because we're on a 15-minute chart. The battle ended after 15 minutes. That screen popped up where it showed you the score between your team versus the other team. And this candle that printed here, this candle right here that we're on, it is just that screen, okay? So imagine if you took a screenshot of that screen, right? You just got done playing a game of team deathmatch. Your team won. You dropped 50 kills. Like, you dropped 50 kills. This is the craziest shit you've ever seen. You've never pulled off this kind of performance. So you pull out your phone. You pull your phone out and you take a picture of that screen. And now you have it in your phone. That is all this is. This is a screenshot. This is your screenshot of how that match went in that 15 minutes of time. Does that make sense now? So look, it's the same. If we go to a 30-minute chart, these are 30-minute candles, okay? So this 30-minute candle shows you how that team deathmatch game went in 30 minutes of time. It took you 30 minutes to play that game and for your team to finally come out on top. You took a screenshot with your phone because you just pulled off a crazy performance, so you want to document it. This is that screenshot, okay? That's all it's showing you. So if another candle closes, right, like the previous screenshot you had, say you keep taking screenshots, right, you'll eventually start to get a collective of wins, like a collective in your gallery of screenshotted wins. Well, say you go into another match and the other team wins. Well, guess what? There's some guy on the other team that's thinking the same thing you were. This was my craziest game. I want to document this. Right? But to you, he's the villain. He's the villain to you. Right? So that's all this is it's just a screenshot of how the games went in a increment of time. So in this example, this is 30 minutes of time, 30 minutes of team deathmatch, And this is the screenshot of how the game went. The candles just show how the battles went between the good guys and the bad guys, the heroes and the villains, your team versus the other team. That is all the candles show. And depending on what chart you're on, it just shows you how the battle went between that period of time. Does that make sense? Don't overcomplicate it. 15-minute chart, that is one candle is 15-minute candle. If I go to a 5-minute chart, one candle is a 5-minute candle. All that candle shows me is a screenshot of whether the good guys or the bad guys won. If the good guys won, it's going up. If the bad guys won, it's going down. Do not overcomplicate it. That is all candles show you, okay? Now, back to what I was saying. You have to understand something. Just like you in the game, right? Just like you in the game, there's something going on in the bigger picture. The overall flow of the market itself is its own player, okay? You have to understand that. We'll wrap back around to this after we start learning about what it is buyers, what it is that the good guys and the bad guys are seeking out. Okay? So, let's keep talking about, with each of these candles, no matter what chart you're on, you need to understand something, okay? When a new, so we're on a 5-minute chart. When a 5-minute candle closes and a new one opens up, if the good guys are in control, the candle will open up at the bottom, okay? Stick with me. The candle will open up at the bottom when the good guys are in control. When the bad guys are in control, the candles will open up at the top, like this, right? And from there, since the candle opened up at the top and it's a bad guy candle, since the candle opened up at the top, since this candle opened up at the top and it's a bad guy candle, it wants to fall. So think of something starting from the top, like in the sky, it's going to fall, right? If something's in the sky, it's going to want to fall. So once again, bad guy candles open up at the top and they look to fall. As were good guy candles, they open up at the bottom. And just like anything on the ground, it looks to rise. Okay? You got that? So one more time. Good guy candles. So we're on a 5-minute chart. One of the candles just closed. The new one opens up. If the good guys are in control, the candle will open at the bottom and it will look to start forming to the upside, right? If the bad guys take control of it and this candle closes and a new one opens up, the candle will open up at the top, right? And just like something in the sky, the candle will look to want to fall. Okay? Makes sense? So now let's look at this on a chart. We can see here in this example, this is perfect. When this before this candle closed, it opened up here. This is where the candle opened. So this is known as the base of the candle. This is the starting point of a villain candle. It opened up here, right? And it fell out the sky. It fell out of the sky. where it then closed here. You can see it closed here. And since this candle, oh my God. And since this candle here, since it closed here, the next candle opened up at the top, and just like its previous counterpart, since it opened up at the top, it fell. You see how it fell down? So, in this example, we can see that this is where the candle closed here at the bottom, right? Because if villain candles open up at the top and they look to fall, that means when they close, when the candle closes in 5 minutes, it closes at the bottom. It opens at the top and it closes at the bottom. Since the candle closed here, the next candle, did the next candle open up at the top or did it open up at the bottom? For those of you who said the top, you're wrong. The candle opens up at the bottom here. Well, now your question should be why did it do that? We're going to talk about that in a second. It has something to do with these giant wicks you're seeing. They're called candle wicks, okay? So this candle, this hero candle, this previous candle closed, and this new hero candle opens. It opens up at the bottom. Here, remember in our example, hero candles open up at the bottom, and just like anything on the ground, it looks to go up. Things on the ground look to go up. Things in the sky look to fall, right? So in this example, the next candle opens up on the ground. So it's going to look to go where? It's going to look to go up, right? Well, look here. We can see in the next candle, it opens up in the sky. Here the villains took over, and it closed on a villain candle. Where do villain candles close? They close at the bottom. The next candle opens up here on the ground. Things in the ground look to rise to the sky, right? The good guys want to go up. They don't want to go down. So in this example, the good guys start going up. This candle eventually closes. It's the complete opposite of the villain candle. Good guy candles open on the ground and they end in the sky. They get to heaven, right? Think about that. The good guys, they're starting on the ground and they're looking to reach for the skies. And when the good guy candle finally closes, it closes at the top. Well, do you see here how when this good guy candle closed, the next candle that opens up, it opens up on the ground. The reason we know this next candle opened up on the ground is because the one that just closed was a good guy candle, right? Since the good guy candle ended in the sky, that means in that, because we're on a 5-minute chart, in that 5 minutes of time, the good guys won. So the next candle that opens up should be another good guy candle, right? Until it shows us something different. And this keeps happening, right? You see how they keep opening on the ground and reaching for the skies until that changes. So here we can see that changes. So in this example, the good guys ended in the sky. In this example, the good guys closed. The good guys closed in the sky like they wanted to. But when the next candle opened up, it didn't open up right? We can see if we zoom in here, it didn't open up on the ground, right? Because if this, well, let's try to zoom in so I can show you even more. If this here is where the good guy candles close, right, up at the top, does it look like the next candle when it opened, right? If the opening starts here, does it look like this candle opened above or below that area? Below, right? You can see it's clearly below that area. So by the time this 5 minutes had went by, this candle closed on a villain candle. And the process repeats. The villain candles close and at the bottom. This is where it closed. This is where the villain candle had closed at the bottom. Right? And then the next one opens right here. I know we're diving into this, and I'm trying my best to make it make sense. But all that you need to know, really, you don't even really need to know any of that. I'm just telling you it so you understand it. All you need to know is the candle closing villainous or is it closing heroic? That's all you need to understand, okay? Is it a villain candle or is it a hero candle? And also, is that candle a confident candle or an unconfident candle? But we're not going to discuss that right now. But that's all you need to understand. So if you were still confused by that little example, the only thing you need to understand is that if this candle closed heroic, if it's a heroic candle, you just need to know that it began on the ground, and by the time it got completed, so by the time this one completed and this one started forming, it began on the ground and it closed in the sky. All right? That's the only thing you need to understand. That's it. Now these giant wicks here, what do these mean? Simply put, we're not going to overcomplicate this. If this candle, on this villainous candle, we'll use this as our example. On this candle, what had happened was it opened up, right? Because it's a villain candle. This candle opened up, and the villains were able to bring this candle all the way down to this point here. Kind of like how this one, you see how this candle here moved all the way down, right? What this means is that this candle had came all the way down here at one point, and then the heroes were able to push it all the way back up to this point, where it eventually ended right here, because this is where the candle closed. This is where the battle ended, where it eventually ended right here, and this next one opened up. So what these giant wicks tell you, all it's telling you is that the villains were winning, but the heroes were able to take control. Well, why is that important? We'll get into why that's important, and it actually has to do with our trading strategy we're going to go over in a later video. But that's all you need to understand what that is, okay? Is that anytime you see a wick, especially if it's just showing you the previous history of the battle. So let's do a hero candle now. So in this example, here's a hero candle. The hero candle opened up on the ground. The hero candle opened up on the ground. The hero candle opened up on the ground, and they were able to bring themselves all the way up here. So the hero candle opened up on the ground, and as soon as this hero candle opened up, the villains were able to drag the heroes all the way down to this point. They were trying to take control. That's why it went down. Think about it, right? If you're a hero candle, you want to be going up, right? You don't want to be going down. So what this giant trail shows us on a hero candle is that all it's showing you is that villains tried to take control. That's all it's showing you. Well, how do we know they didn't take control? Well, did the candle close villainous? No. So what about the giant trail up at the top? All that's showing you is that heroes were able to push the highest those heroes were able to get before they closed here. The highest point those heroes were able to get was to here before they ultimately ended up coming back to this point and then opening up the next candle. And it's the same thing anytime you see a wick. The candle opened up here, right? The villains tried to take control. Watch out, buddy. The villains tried to take control. They were able to drag the heroes all the way down to this point, but the heroes are super strong, and they dragged themselves all the way back up to this point, where this is the highest they got was here, to right here. This was the highest they got, right there, before they ultimately decided to set up base here. They ended their battle here, where the next candle opened up. And this keeps happening. Remember, all the candles show you before they close is how a battle ended between heroes and villains. All these giant trails are showing you is that the villains were able to, when this candle, all the trails are showing you is that the villains were able to drag us down to this point, and the heroes were able to get this high, where the villains were able to get this low, and the heroes were able to get this high. Does that make sense? And it's like, well, why is any of that important? Well, that's important because it's going to tie into our strategy later, so you need to understand that. Okay? But I'm trying my best to explain this while keeping like the video game terminology there. Hopefully it's making sense. So at this point, we've gone over the candles and what they mean, the trend, and all the trend is, remember, is that if it's going up, that means we have a consecutive amount of hero candles winning. They're winning because they're dragging it up. And when it's going down, we have a consecutive amount of villain candles, and they're winning because it's going down. That's all that means, right? So we can literally zoom out and we can see this. Who was winning here? Who do you think was winning? Heroes. Heroes won. Now, if we follow this, who was winning here? Villains. Villains won. Now, let me ask you something. So, we can see here that from this point to this point here, we would say probably that heroes were winning since it was going up, right? Well, when we zoom into this, isn't there this little point here where the villains were able to bring price down? See what I'm saying? So villains were winning for this period of time. But when we zoom out and look at the overall picture, it was actually heroes who were winning. Well, this is something known as a trend. So trends show, all trends show is the rhythm of the battle. It is the bigger picture of what is going on. So if I explain that to you again, the rhythm of the battle on this leg here is going up, right? But when we zoom in, we can see the battle itself. That's all it's showing.